Welcome to the Bible story session. Today we are continuing the story of Ruth. Naomi had a relative named Boaz. He was very rich and he was from the family of Elimelech. One day, Ruth told Naomi that let me go and work in the fields because we can't be begging from our neighbors all the time. We're also tiring them. And Naomi, at first she hesitated, but then she let her go. So Ruth went out to a field which actually belonged to Boaz and went picking up. Sometimes later, Boaz himself went and introduced himself to Ruth, and Ruth introduced himself, and Boaz gave Ruth water and food to go and take to Naomi. When Ruth came home, she was so happy. She was like, oh yes, Boaz has come. Boaz, there's this man and Boaz gave me water and food. And Naomi was like, Boaz is a relative of mine. And they all thanked God. Boaz also told Ruth that, let me give you advice. Don't pick corn from any other place except here.
And now, the Lord spoke to Naomi and told her that Boaz and Ruth should actually be together, because in the past, people of Israel had to marry from the same tribe of Israel. You are not supposed to marry someone from a different tribe. And so Naomi advised Ruth, and she blessed her. She blessed Ruth and told her that she needed to go and meet with Boaz, and that God would give her favor. And so that day, as Ruth always went to pick corn, she went to pick corn from the farm and met with Boaz, and they spoke, and Boaz told her that do not worry. If it is the Lord that has spoken this, the Lord will bring it to pass. And so Boaz called the men, the elders, and told them that Elimelech died. You remember Elimelech is Naomi's husband, and Elimelech left a piece of land, and that this piece of land, Naomi is selling it.
Was sure to go. The closest relative was to go and buy that land and marry Ruth. But the closest relative already had a family. So at those days, they used to remove the sandals and give it to the man who wanted the land. Yes, and Boaz took it and he was like, I am going to get that land. And so that's what happened.
Yes, and they got married.
Yay, and they lived happy ever after. Just like in all those tales.
And God blessed them with a son
named Obed, who was the father of Jesse and who was the grandfather of David. Wow.
Yes.
What a good family connection. So it's like Ruth is the great-grandmother of David.
And the great-grandmother of Jesus.
Yeah. How many greats? 10 greats? I don't know. So what have you learned from this story?
I have learned that whenever it is God's will for something to happen, all we need to do is pray and surrender it to God, and it is going to happen.
I have learned that when it is God's will to happen, it will happen, and you have to follow His will, just as. And you should also be a man who prays, or a person who prays so that God can speak to you.
I've also learned one more thing. We should learn how to honor our parents and respect our